Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations series. Title Frozen Truth, The Hidden Civilizations of Antarctica. Title Frozen Truth, Part 1, The Forbidden Continent. Narrator, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what's really going on in Antarctica? Not the headlines, not the documentaries with penguins and ice cores. I'm talking about what we're not supposed to know, because there's something strange about the southernmost continent. It's the only place on Earth where no one owns the land, where governments across the globe, many of them enemies, suddenly agreed to keep things silent. Why? Why is a place with nothing but snow, ice, and rock so protected? Why are there entire zones that not even scientists can access? Tonight, we begin our journey through the ice. This is Frozen Truth, Part 1, The Forbidden Continent. Section 1. Let's start with a simple fact. Antarctica is the only continent where civilian access is severely restricted. Sure, you can go on a cruise, maybe take a selfie with some seals, but try going inland. Try flying over certain coordinates. You'll run into red tape faster than a spy crossing into North Korea. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, officially bans military activity, resource extraction, and territorial claims. Sounds peaceful, right? But let me ask you this. Since when do the world's most powerful nations agree on anything, especially during the Cold War? Why would the US, Soviet Union, China, the UK, and dozens of other powers all say, yeah, let's lock down the coldest, emptiest place on the planet together? Unless, of course, it's not so empty. Section 2, a land older than time. Geologists agree that Antarctica hasn't always been frozen. Millions of years ago, it was covered in forests, lush, green, warm. But what most people don't know is that some evidence suggests it may have been ice-free just a few thousand years ago. That's not ancient history. That's human history. In 2009, a team of scientists drilling deep into the Antarctic ice uncovered fossilized pollen, plant life, even signs of flowing rivers. Let that sink in. Beneath miles of ice lies a hidden world, a place that once supported life. So the question becomes, did anything intelligent ever live there? Section 3. Here's where things start getting even weirder. In 2012, NASA satellites scanning Antarctica picked up heat signatures coming from beneath the surface, far from any known volcanic activity. Not just a little warmth. We're talking about consistent, unnatural thermal patterns in perfect geometric alignment. Now let me ask you, what kind of natural formation gives off straight lines? Nature doesn't build in perfect triangles or squares. People do, or something else does. And here's the kicker. After that satellite data was released, suddenly access to those zones was revoked. Just like that, sealed off from the public and most researchers. Why? Section 4, the mystery of the structures. Several whistleblowers, military personnel, pilots, former research contractors have come forward claiming to have seen massive buried structures under the ice. Not rocks, not caves, but buildings. One described a black obsidian-like dome stretching hundreds of feet across, emerging from a melting glacier. Another claimed to have witnessed stair-like formations descending into an underground cavern, symmetrical, metallic. Of course, they were silenced. Most discredited this persist. And the real question is, if these people are lying, why would they all tell the same lie? Section 5, the Piri Reis map, a glimpse into the past. Let's rewind to 1513. A map appears, created by a Turkish admiral named Piri Reis. This map shows the coastline of South America, Africa, and, shockingly, Antarctica. But here's the twist. The Antarctic coastline on the map is ice-free, smooth, detailed, exactly how it would appear beneath the ice today, confirmed by modern satellite imagery. But this was drawn 300 years before Antarctica was even officially discovered, and 500 years before we had radar that could see through the ice. So how did a 16th century sailor know what Antarctica really looked like? Simple question. No official answer. Section 6. A world before ours? Here's where we go deeper. What if a civilization, advanced, intelligent, existed in Antarctica before the ice came? A people who built temples, cities, maybe even pyramids, who mapped the world before ours ever began. Some believe these are the pre-flood civilizations mentioned in Sumerian tablets and biblical texts. Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria. Myths? Maybe. But what if the myth was just a memory of something real? And now it's buried beneath miles of silence. Section 7. Scientific roadblocks and quiet suppressions. Ask any archaeologist if they've ever been allowed to dig in the deep interior of Antarctica. They'll either laugh or go quiet. No major archaeological expedition has ever been sanctioned for the interior zones, not even exploratory missions. Why? There are universities begging to conduct studies, private investors willing to fund research, but time and time again, permits are denied. What are they afraid someone might find? Section 8. The treaty that binds the silence. Let's circle back to the Antarctic Treaty. Did you know it doesn't expire? It renews indefinitely. A legal lockbox around the continent. Even today, over 50 countries maintain strict compliance with its terms. In a world plagued by conflict, Antarctica remains the only untouched piece of land, not because it's sacred, but because it's off limits. It's almost as if they're all guarding the same secret. Section 9. Whispers from the ice. There are reports, unconfirmed of course, of strange sounds captured beneath the ice shelf. Rhythmic pulses, metallic hums. Some say it's glacial pressure, others call it geophonic anomalies, but some believe it's something else entirely. Machinery, long dormant, still alive, waiting. So here we are, a continent locked away, ancient maps that shouldn't exist, thermal readings that don't match nature, whistleblowers silenced, fossils that speak of forests and ruins that speak of builders, and a treaty signed in the shadows, making sure we never find out. But the ice is melting, year by year, layer by layer, and soon whatever's been buried for thousands of years may rise. So I leave you with this question. What if Antarctica isn't the last frontier, but the first tomb? And when it opens, what story will it tell? Will it be history or a warning? Next time in part 2 of Frozen Truth, we dive into the map that defies all logic, the Piri Reis map, and how it may reveal the greatest cover-up in cartographic history. Until then, stay curious, stay cold, and keep asking, what's beneath the ice? Title, Frozen Truth, Part 2, The Piri Reis Map. Series, Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations. Imagine holding in your hands a map that shouldn't exist. A map that shows the world, not just as we knew it 500 years ago, but as it was thousands of years before that. A map that's so precise it matches modern satellite imagery. A map that somehow depicts a continent that wasn't discovered until centuries later. And here's the kicker. It shows Antarctica without ice. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Frozen Truth, Part 2, the Piri Reis map. Let's peel back the centuries and step into the unknown. Section 1. A mysterious map appears. The year is 1929. A group of historians is cataloging ancient artifacts in the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, Turkey. Among the dusty scrolls and faded charts, they stumble across something strange, something impossible. A piece of gazelle skin parchment dated to 1513, drawn by an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis. And on this parchment, a map, not just of Europe or the Mediterranean, those were common, but a map that stretches beyond the known world, down the coast of South America, into Africa, and then, most baffling of all, a detailed coastline of what appears to be Queen Maud Land, Antarctica. But here's the twist, with no ice. That's right, this map, made in the 16th century, shows an ice-free Antarctic coast, exactly how it would look beneath 2 miles of frozen glacier. But that can't be, right? Or can it? Section 2, Who was Piri Reis? Before we dive deeper, let's talk about the man himself. Piri Reis wasn't just a sailor doodling coastlines for fun. He was a respected naval officer in the Ottoman Empire, a scholar, a cartographer, a commander. His notes on the map are meticulous. He writes that he compiled the map using ancient sea charts and sources from antiquity, some of which, he claims, date back to before the time of Alexander the Great. Think about that. Piri Reis didn't invent this map. He copied it from older maps, maps that no longer exist, maps from a time we don't even remember. So the question is, where did those original maps come from, and who were the ones drawing them? Section 3. The U.S. Air Force gets involved. Fast forward to 1960. The U.S. Air Force gets its hands on the Piri Reis map. After intense analysis, they issue a statement, one that rarely makes the news. Here's what it says. The geographical detail in the lower part of the map agrees remarkably with the results of the seismic profile made across the top of the Antarctic ice cap by the Swedish-British Antarctic expedition of 1949. Did you catch that? This 500-year-old map matches modern-day seismic readings. But those seismic studies didn't exist until the mid-20th century. So again, we ask, how could anyone in 1513 have drawn a map with such accuracy, without satellites, without radar, without even knowing Antarctica existed? Unless, of course, they weren't the first. Section 4, the puzzle. Let's talk about the ice. Geologists agree the Antarctic ice sheet is at least 4,000 years old, maybe much older in some areas. So, how is it possible for any civilization, let alone one before the 1500s, to know what lies beneath it? There are only a few explanations. 1, they had technology equal to or beyond our own. 2, Antarctica wasn't always covered in ice, at least not entirely. 3, these maps were created by a civilization that existed before the last ice age, and somehow their knowledge survived. Each option leads to the same unsettling conclusion. There was someone here before us. And 5. And if you think the Piri Reis map is a fluke, think again. Other ancient maps, like the Orange Fine map 1531 and the Buache map 1737, also depict Antarctica, some with rivers and mountain ranges that align suspiciously well with our modern scans. They all seem to share a common source, a knowledge base far older than any known civilization. But where are those original maps now? Who preserved them, and why did they vanish just as modern empires began to rise? Could it be someone made sure they were erased? Section 6, Lost Civilizations, a Deeper History. Let's read further. According to Sumerian tablets, Vedic texts, and even Plato's account of Atlantis, there was once a world before ours, a time of great knowledge, global travel, and advanced technology, long before the Egyptians, before Mesopotamia, before the flood. Plato described Atlantis as a civilization with ships, canals, and energy systems, wiped out in a single day by cataclysmic events. But what if Atlantis didn't sink into the sea? What if it froze? What if Antarctica is Atlantis? The timelines match, the geography matches, and the idea of a continent vanishing beneath cataclysm fits like a frozen glove. Section 7. Despite the evidence, most academics either ignore or ridicule the Piri Reis map. Why? Because if the map is real, if it's accurate, it rewrites everything we know about human history. It suggests advanced maritime knowledge existed thousands of years ago, before any known civilization. It implies the timeline we've been taught is broken, missing entire chapters. And if one chapter is missing, how many more are we blind to?
Section 8.
So why does this matter to Antarctica? Because the map doesn't just hint at ancient seafaring. It pinpoints the very continent that's been locked away behind political red tape and freezing temperatures. A continent that, according to some, holds ruins, structures, and secrets hidden beneath its ice. The Piri Reis map is the breadcrumb. The ice is the veil. And somewhere beneath that veil is a truth humanity forgot, or was forced to forget. Section 9. Anomalies on the ice. Let's connect some dots. Ancient maps show Antarctica without ice. Satellite scans detect geometric shapes beneath the surface. Heat signatures align with the coastlines drawn in 1513. Whistleblowers claim they've seen massive artificial structures. Coincidence or conspiracy? Something or someone knew what was there, long before we discovered it, and now that the ice is melting, the truth may rise again. Section 10. The unanswerable question. So here's where we land tonight. A 500-year-old map shows us a world we weren't supposed to know. It matches today's satellite data. It hints at a civilization lost in time, or perhaps buried beneath it. But the deeper question remains, who made the original maps, and what happened to them? Were they destroyed in war, locked away in Vatican vaults, or are they still out there, hidden, waiting to be found? Maybe the Piri Reis map is just the beginning, the first crack in the ice, a whisper from the past saying, we were here and you've only just remembered. Closing music, echoing tones, ancient whispers, distant wind. Next time on Frozen Truth, we follow the world's largest military expedition to Antarctica, Operation High Jump. Was it science or something far more secretive? Until then, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and ask yourself, what if the maps are older than history itself? Title: Frozen Truth Part 3, Operation High Jump. Series: Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations. What would compel the U.S. Navy to send over 4,000 troops, 13 ships, and dozens of aircraft to the most desolate, inhospitable place on Earth just months after World War II ended? Was it science, or was it something else? Welcome back to Frozen Truth, Part 3, Operation High Jump. Last time, we uncovered the Peary Race Map, a 500-year-old document that reveals the ice-free coastline of Antarctica with uncanny accuracy. It suggested something chilling. Someone knew about Antarctica long before we officially discovered it. Now we shift focus to an operation so large, so sudden, and so shrouded in mystery that even today most people have never heard of it. Let's break the ice. Break the dice. Section 1, the mission that shouldn't have been. It's 1946. World War II has just ended. America is victorious. Troops are returning home. The world is rebuilding, or so we thought. But behind closed doors, the U.S. military is preparing for a massive deployment to Antarctica. The name? Operation High Jump. Led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd, a celebrated polar explorer and war hero, the mission included 13 ships, including an aircraft carrier, 4,700 men, 33 aircraft, and a fleet of technology unheard of for such a scientific expedition. Publicly, the goal was simple: test cold weather gear, train troops, map the frozen continent. But let's be honest, that sounds more like a cover story, doesn't it? Section Tigdabija, just think about it. Why send thousands of troops, destroyers, submarines, and an aircraft carrier to a place that's supposed to be empty? Why the urgency? Why the firepower? And here's where things get even weirder. Operation High Jump was scheduled to last 6 to 8 months, but just 6 weeks in, it was suddenly aborted. No clear explanation, no fanfare, just done. The official excuse? Bad weather. But survivors tell a different story, one filled with mysterious aircraft, malfunctioning electronics, and something in the sky that defied everything they knew about flight. Section 3, Byrd's shocking interview. Let's fast forward to March 1947. Admiral Byrd returns from Antarctica and gives an interview to a Chilean newspaper, El Mercurio. And what he says raises eyebrows. The United States must prepare to defend itself against enemies flying objects that can travel from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Wait, pole to pole? At incredible speeds? In 1947, that kind of language wasn't just strange, it was impossible. Airplanes couldn't travel pole to pole without refueling. Jet technology was still in its infancy. So what exactly had Admiral Byrd seen? And why was that the first thing he warned the world about? Unless something or someone was already there. Section 4, UFOs over Antarctica? You might be thinking, wait, are we talking aliens now? Not quite. Not yet. Let's stay grounded, sort of. Eyewitness accounts from Operation High Jump include reports of strange disc-shaped craft rising from beneath the ice, ships' electronics malfunctioning without cause, aircraft being pursued and disabled mid-air with no visible attackers, lights beneath the water, moving too fast to be natural. Many of these testimonies come from military personnel, men trained not to panic, men who risked court-martial just to speak up. So either they were delusional or they saw something the world was never supposed to know. The Nazi connection. Now let's take a darker turn. Toward the end of World War II, there were rumors that the Nazis had created secret bases in Antarctica, specifically in an area they called Neuschwabenland. And when Germany fell, many high-ranking Nazis mysteriously vanished. Some claim they fled to South America, but others whispered of submarines disappearing into the southern seas, carrying cargo and people to the ice. Now consider this. Operation High Jump took place just months after the war ended. Coincidence? Or was the U.S. military trying to root out something left behind? And here's a mind bender. What if it wasn't just Nazi technology they were after? What if the Nazis had found something in Antarctica? Something ancient, something powerful, something not of this earth? Section 6, Ancient Technology, or Reverse Engineering. Let's revisit a strange but persistent rumor that the Nazis were obsessed with ancient knowledge, runes, relics, and gods that came from the sky. Some believe they were attempting to harness energy or travel through space using what they called Die Glocke, the bell, an alleged anti-gravity device. Sounds wild, right? But if they truly found an ancient ruin in Antarctica, an advanced machine buried beneath the ice, maybe that wasn't science fiction at all. And if the U.S. learned of it, You bet they'd mobilize. Section 7, what they found and never told us. Official documents about Operation High Jump remain heavily redacted. Photos are missing, logs are incomplete. Some footage was even lost. And Admiral Byrd, after his cryptic interviews, he went quiet. His later expeditions were limited, controlled. When he died in 1957, his diaries were locked away, classified. Why? What did he write in those frozen pages? What did he see that the government didn't want you to know? And here's a chilling detail. Some now claim that Byrd's private journal, later leaked online, describes him flying into a hidden world beneath the ice, an entrance to a hollow Earth with civilizations inside. Far-fetched? Maybe. But when you put the pieces together, his warnings, the premature end of the mission, the missing data, it raises a question no one dares to answer. What lies beneath Antarctica that terrorized the most powerful military on Earth? Section 8, Antarctica sealed off. In 1959, just over a decade after Operation High Jump, the Antarctic Treaty was signed. It banned all military activity on the continent. No mining, no claiming land, no permanent settlements. But here's the weird part. Every major nation signed it almost instantly, including enemies. At the height of the Cold War, the US and the Soviet Union agreed to stop fighting in Antarctica. Why? What could be so important down there that even war-hungry governments agreed to keep quiet? Unless they'd already seen what lies beneath, and they wanted to make sure no one else ever would. Section 9, a silent continent. Today, Antarctica remains the most heavily restricted place on Earth. No independent exploration, no commercial development, no digging past certain depths. Satellite imagery is censored. Flight paths are rerouted. Whistleblowers have disappeared. So ask yourself, what are they hiding? A crashed ship, an ancient power source, a civilization in stasis, or maybe, just maybe, the truth about our past, closing the ice cracks further. So here's what we know. The US launched a massive military mission to Antarctica and abruptly pulled out without explanation. Whistleblowers describe aerial battles and mysterious craft. Admiral Byrd warned of a new threat, fast, powerful, unknown. And in the aftermath, the most secretive treaty in history was signed. Coincidences? Or breadcrumbs? Next time on Frozen Truth, we follow those breadcrumbs to satellite anomalies and forbidden zones, areas NASA won't talk about and explorers are warned to avoid. Until then, ask yourself, if Antarctica is just ice, why are so many people so desperate to keep us away from it? Title, Frozen Truth Part 4, The Forbidden Zones. Series, Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations. Imagine a place so remote, so unforgiving that even satellites can't seem to capture it. Imagine large chunks of digital map data simply missing, blurred, censored, obscured by clouds that never move. Now imagine those zones lie not in some secret military base, not in the middle of a war zone, but in Antarctica. Welcome back to Frozen Truth. This is Part 4, The Forbidden Zones. In our last episode, we uncovered the chilling story behind Operation High Jump, an American military mission that many believe uncovered something extraordinary beneath the Antarctic ice. What did Admiral Byrd see? Why did global powers rush to sign a treaty locking the continent down forever? And more importantly, what are we not allowed to see? Section 1, the map that lies. Let's begin with something we all have access to. Google Earth. Go ahead. Search Antarctica. At first glance, it looks like an endless white wasteland. Zoom in closer and you'll notice strange things. Entire zones blurred or pixelated. Craters that don't match surface ice flow. Odd geometric shapes, rectangles, perfect lines, even hexagonal patterns in the snow. And perhaps most strangely of all, permanent cloud coverage over specific areas. Now pause. Clouds don't stay still, especially not over the most wind-whipped continent on Earth. So why are these clouds frozen in place? Who is freezing them? And what's beneath them? Section 2, the ridge they don't want you to see. In 2012, independent researchers using public satellite data noticed something peculiar near the Princess Elizabeth Land region. A massive ridge, rectangular in shape, 150 feet tall and half a mile wide, jutting unnaturally from the ice. It had sharp, angular edges, like walls, like doors. The image went viral, until it didn't. Within days, the coordinates stopped working. Satellite images were replaced, Zoom was disabled, the anomaly was gone, scrubbed from public access. Ask yourself this, if it were just a glitch, a shadow, or a natural formation, why cover it up? Section 3, the hole in the ice, Coordinates that haunt now. There's a location that's been whispered about for years. Coordinates 6633S 9950E. Those who searched it before 2017 recall what looked like a gaping hole in the ice, a near perfect circle descending into darkness. It wasn't a crater. It wasn't a lake. It was an entrance to what? A cave system? A military facility? Or something much, much older? Some say it matches the descriptions in Admiral Byrd's Lost Diary, a portal to a hollow earth, an ancient realm untouched by time. Today, that hole, it's gone from Google Earth, replaced by blank snow, but too many people saw it. Too many saved screenshots, and too many now believe Antarctica isn't just hiding ruins, it's hiding gateways. Section 4, Electromagnetic Anomalies. Now we move from what we can't see to what we can't explain. Satellites have picked up strange electromagnetic pulses from deep beneath the ice in East Antarctica, signals that shouldn't exist. They're not natural. They're too rhythmic, too specific. Some scientists dismiss them as geothermal noise, but others, they point to something deeper. In 2006, NASA quietly acknowledged detecting a massive gravitational anomaly beneath the ice sheet, roughly the size of Manhattan, far denser than any known material nearby. A researcher at the time speculated it could be a large asteroid impact or something buried there. Something buried, metallic, or even powered. And what if it's not an object? What if it's active? Section 5, the Ancient City Theory. Let's connect the dots. Satellite images suggest buried structures. Coordinates show vanishing entrances. Unnatural energy pulses come from deep beneath the ice. So what's the theory? That beneath the miles-thick ice of Antarctica lies a lost city. Some say it's Atlantis, frozen in time. Others believe it's an alien outpost, abandoned or sealed away. But one theory stands out, that it's not lost at all, that the city, or what's left of it, still functions. Power sources hum beneath the crust. Machines preserved for millennia, perhaps longer. And now we're poking at it. That's why we see electromagnetic pulses. That's why clouds are locked over certain zones. That's why even modern satellites suddenly fail over some parts of the continent. It's not a glitch. It's not random. It's protection. Something is being preserved or guarded. Section 6, Forbidden Expeditions and the Disappeared. Let's talk about explorers. Since the 1980s, dozens of independent expeditions to Antarctica have reported GPS malfunctions, radios going dead near certain ridges, drones crashing midair, and in some chilling cases, teams vanishing without trace. In 2002, a group of Australian researchers went silent for 3 days. When they returned, they gave no explanation for their disappearance. No logs, no interviews. They just left the continent. Their funding? Cut. Their footage? Corrupted. What did they see? What made scientists' rational minds walk away from everything? We'll likely never know, because Antarctica answers to no one. Section 7, the NASA Silent Sphinx. NASA studies nearly every part of our planet. Volcanoes, deserts, oceans, forests. But guess where they do almost no public research? That's right, Antarctica. Look at NASA's Earth Observatory. Type in Antarctica. What you'll find are surface-level articles, temperature models, and outdated ice maps. No deep ice scans, no infrared penetrative imaging, no seismic depth analysis. Why? NASA can scan Mars and Titan with clarity, but not our own planet's southern pole. What are they not telling us? Or better yet, what were they told not to look at? Section 8, Forbidden Knowledge or Forgotten Truth? Here's the big question. What if Antarctica holds proof? Proof of a civilization more advanced than anything we've ever known. Not alien, not human, but something else. A third option. A species, maybe terrestrial, that lived before the Ice Age. Masters of energy, of light, of architecture. And when disaster struck, they fled to the last refuge, the coldest, most remote place on Earth, Antarctica. And they left behind technology waiting. But as we get closer to discovering it, through satellites, scans, and whispers, they push back. You think it's coincidence that UFO sightings spike near the poles? You think it's natural that ice shelves are collapsing faster where those anomalies lie? Or is something beneath the ice waking up? Closing, the silence is louder than truth. Let's sum up. Antarctica is filled with zones we're not allowed to see. Satellite data is censored, edited, or glitched. Hidden entrances have been spotted, then deleted. Electromagnetic pulses and gravity anomalies defy scientific logic, and nations around the world stay eerily silent. Ask yourself, if none of this mattered, if it were just ice, why hide it? Why redact it? Why silence it? In our next episode of Frozen Truth, we'll go deeper into the bloodless bodies found near the South Pole, the symbols etched in the ice, and the ancient warnings whispered by indigenous peoples from thousands of miles away. Until then, keep looking up, because what's hidden beneath the earth may soon rise above it. Title Frozen Truth Part 5, The Cold Ones Return. Series Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations. The cold doesn't kill quickly, not in Antarctica. It creeps, it waits. But something else, something older, has been waiting even longer, not beneath the ice, within it. Welcome back to Frozen Truth. This is Part 5, The Cold Ones Return. In the last episode, we explored the forbidden zones of Antarctica, places censored from satellite view where gravity behaves strangely and electromagnetic pulses hum like distant drums. But tonight, we follow the trail of the unexplainable, frozen corpses, ancient warnings, and signs etched in ice and bone that something is stirring. Section 1, The Bloodless Corpses. In 2003, a scientific research team from Argentina was conducting glaciological surveys near the Shackleton Range. What they found should have made global headlines. 3 bodies, perfectly preserved, lying in the open. Not covered by snow, not buried, but exposed as if placed there, deliberately. 2 were male, 1 female, all in their 30s. Their clothes were unmarked, no frostbite, no signs of injury. But here's where it gets chilling. They had no blood, none. Their bodies were completely exsanguinated, organs intact, no trauma. The official report? Hypothermia and postmortem environmental factors. Unofficial whispers? Harvested. The bodies were flown to a classified U.S. facility. The research team was rotated out, gagged by NDAs, and never spoke publicly again. What kind of force removes blood without breaking skin? And more importantly, why leave the bodies behind? A warning, a ritual, or a message? Section 2, Symbols in the 2016, drone footage captured something strange near Dome Sea Station, one of the highest, coldest points on Earth. A geoglyph melted into the ice, almost a mile wide. 6 concentric circles, with a central shape, a triangle within an eye. It was visible for only 3 days. Then a sudden blizzard swept through. Satellite data went offline. When the skies cleared, it was gone. French researchers tried to study the footage. Their findings were disturbing. The symbol matched pre-Sumerian carvings found in Mesopotamia. But how? That symbol of a watching eye within a triangle has appeared across human history. Egypt, Tibet, the Mayans, always associated with knowledge, judgment, and beings not of this world. What was it doing on a glacier in Antarctica? And who or what melted it into the ice? Section 3, The Voices on the Radio. Now this is where it gets personal. In 2018, a radio operator stationed at Amundsen Scott South Pole Station reported receiving unauthorized transmissions. Not in Morse code, not in English, not in any known language. The signals came in rhythmic pulses, repeating patterns every 13 seconds, but every 4th message changed. An amateur cryptographer analyzed the frequency modulation. He claimed it was not a language, but a tone map, a sound-based coordinate system, a location, or perhaps an activation key. Here's where it turns from weird to terrifying. After the 3rd week of transmissions, the operator vanished, left no trace, no note. His parka was still hanging on the hook. He was never found. The signals stopped that night. What was being transmitted? Who was meant to hear it? And what if someone responded? Section 4, The Ice That Bleeds. In the McMurdo Dry Valleys lies a place known as Blood Falls. You've probably seen pictures, a waterfall of dark red liquid pouring from the ice. Mainstream science says it's iron-rich brine oxidizing in the air. But there's a problem with that explanation. The flow rate is constant, no matter the season. Even when the surrounding ice is frozen solid, some geologists have taken core samples from the source. What they found is not just salt water. It contains microbial DNA sequences unknown to any cataloged life on Earth. Life that survives in complete darkness under extreme pressure without oxygen. Not alien, but not exactly of this world either. And here's the eerie part. Under UV light, the microbes glow faintly blue, like bioluminescent plankton or the eyes of deep-sea creatures. Except these live under ice. What are they feeding on? And what else is alive down there? Section 5, The Cold Ones. Indigenous peoples from vastly different parts of the world, Inuit in the north, the Selknam of Patagonia, even Aboriginal tribes in Australia, share similar legends, beings from the White Lands, pale giants, silent walkers, eyes like stars. They called them many names, but the meanings were always the same. The cold ones. Inuit elders speak of a time when the stars aligned and the cold ones crossed the ice. They brought knowledge and destruction. The Selknam believed the cold ones would sleep beneath the world, only to return when the sky bleeds and the ice melts. Now ask yourself, aren't our poles melting at unprecedented rates? Isn't Earth's magnetic field weakening? Haven't we just entered a solar maximum? The sky bleeds. The ice melts. The conditions are returning. Are the cold ones waking? Section 6, Genetic Clues and DNA Cover-Ups. In 2020, a secretive genome sequencing project known as IceSeed was leaked online. It revealed samples taken from subglacial lakes beneath Antarctica. DNA fragments showed non-human primate sequences with unknown gene insertions that don't exist anywhere else on Earth. CRISPR experts who reviewed the leaks were stunned. Some genes appeared to switch on in cold environments, triggering cellular changes similar to hibernation or stasis. One sequence in particular resembled early hominid DNA, but with markers found in octopus neural systems. In simpler terms, a cold-adapted species, intelligent, dormant, and not extinct. Just asleep, waiting for the world to warm again. In 2021, seismic microphones placed in Lake Vostok picked up something strange. Not ice shifts, not tectonic rumblings, but rhythmic pulses. One geologist described them as organic. Every 12 hours, the pattern changed. Some believe it's glacial pressure, others believe it's communication. When a second station was placed 200 miles away, it recorded the same pulse at the exact same time, and then something answered. A different signal. Higher frequency, shorter bursts, like sonar. Whatever is under Antarctica, it is not alone. Closing, something ancient stirs. Let's put this together. Frozen corpses with no blood. Symbols linked to ancient civilizations. Radio transmissions in alien pulses. Blood falls that bleed life not known to science. Global legends of cold ones who sleep beneath the earth and signals rising from beneath. It paints a picture, not of myth, not of fantasy, but of something real, ancient, intelligent, and perhaps returning. Why are nations locking down the continent? Why are satellites blind to certain regions? Why are explorers silenced? Because they know the truth. The cold ones are not a bedtime story. They were here before us. They shaped what we now call civilization, and as the ice thins, as the earth warms, they will walk again. In part 6 of Frozen Truth, we travel to Lake Vostok, a lake sealed off from the world for over 15 million years. What did Russian scientists really find when they drilled through? Why did communication go dark for 48 hours, and what did the final transmission, decoded only recently, truly mean? A single phrase, repeated over and over, it sees. Stay with us, because some truths should stay frozen. Title Frozen Truth Part 6, The Watcher in the Lake. Series Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations. In the deepest part of Antarctica, beneath miles of unmoving ice, lies a lake untouched by light for over 15 million years. Lake Vostok, no oxygen, no sunlight, no contamination, at least not until we broke through. This is Frozen Truth, and you're listening to Part 6, The Watcher in the Lake. In the last episode, we traced the chilling signs of an ancient intelligence. Symbols, signals, corpses, and whispers beneath the ice. But now we descend into the abyss. Because in 2012, Russian scientists pierced the frozen veil and made contact with something, and for 48 hours, they disappeared. Section 1, the drill that changed everything. Lake Vostok isn't just any body of water. It's the largest subglacial lake on Earth, hidden under nearly 13,000 feet of ice. That's taller than the Empire State Building, more than 2 times over. Russian teams spent decades trying to reach it, and in February 2012, they succeeded. Their drill finally broke through. Sensors detected sudden movement in the water. But then, all communications ceased. 48 hours of silence. When they reconnected, the team simply reported, all systems operational, sample collected. No explanation, no emotion, no footage released. Later interviews revealed cracks in the story. One technician was transferred to a psychiatric hospital. Another vanished after returning home, and the project lead refused to speak publicly. Ever again. What happened in those 2 days? Section 2, the final transmission. It wasn't until 5 years later, in 2017, that a low-level Russian analyst leaked something incredible. A final radio message, recorded just minutes before contact was lost. Translated from Russian, it read, "We are not alone. It sees. It sees us beneath." That was it. 3 short sentences. Then static. The phrase "it sees" would become a kind of legend among black site researchers. Codename, the Watcher. What did they encounter? And what could see beneath a lake sealed for millions of years? Section 3, the DNA that shouldn't exist. A sample of lake water was quietly shared with a European lab, unofficially. Within that sample, microbiologists found over 3,500 distinct life forms. Some were extremophiles, bacteria that survive in boiling vents or deep-sea trenches. But 2 sequences stood out. One resembled retroviral DNA but had no known host species. The other, a eukaryotic strand that hinted at complex neural architecture, brain-like tissue. In simple terms, not just life, advanced life, a form of intelligence adapted to crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, and total darkness. And here's the kicker, the DNA showed non-random editing, patterns, precision, as if engineered. But by who or what? Section 4, the diver who saw too much. In 2013, a year after the breakthrough, a private American contractor working near the Vostok station reported a bizarre incident. Let's call him John. John had been part of a logistics team delivering supplies when he witnessed an unmarked submersible drone being quietly extracted from the lake access shaft. The drone was covered in thin black residue, slimy but crystalline under light. When John asked a technician about it, he was told bluntly, "Ask again, you'll disappear faster than your breath out here." John later claimed he accessed a fragment of drone video via a maintenance laptop. He described what he saw, a pitch-black expanse, pulses of blue-green light like an aurora underwater, and then an eye. Immense, vertical, reflecting the drone's own light, followed by a sound, a bass-frequency hum that shut down the feed. He turned off the laptop, never spoke of it again, until now. Why would a hidden drone be sent into Lake Vostok? What did it see? And why did it trigger electronic failure? Recent neuroscientific studies suggest that certain marine animals like cuttlefish can communicate via color and light pulses across their skin. They think, they feel, they signal. Now imagine a higher form of that, a life form that doesn't speak but broadcasts thoughts using light, frequency, and magnetism. Now recall the Vostok hum, the sonar pings, the light recorded in the depths. Could we have contacted a sentient being? Not a monster, not a myth, but a mind. Dormant, patient, watching through the darkness. Maybe it never wanted to be found, or maybe it's been waiting. Section 6, Ancient Echoes in the Black Pyramid. In Part 2, we discussed rumors of a black pyramid buried beneath Antarctica, satellite images, geological anomalies, sudden no-fly zones. Well, what if the pyramid and Lake Vostok are connected? Researchers now believe Vostok lies near a tectonic fracture, a place where heat from Earth's core creates a subglacial cave network. And in 2018, radar scans from an anonymous German expedition revealed a perfect tetrahedral formation buried 30 miles from the lake. Too perfect to be natural. The material was described as denser than granite, but non-metallic. What if the pyramid was built to seal something in? What if the lake is not just a habitat, but a containment chamber? And we've just poked a hole in it. Section signals heard around the world. In 2023, an Antarctic research balloon picked up ultra-low-frequency radio waves that matched those from Vostok in 2012. But this time, they weren't coming from Antarctica. They came from the Mariana Trench, and then from Siberia, then Greenland, then deep within the Amazon. Each location tied to ancient myths of underground cities, forbidden zones, sleeping gods. Some scientists now fear we didn't just wake something in Vostok, we triggered a network, a global system of ancient minds, dormant in the deep, the Watchers. And now they're speaking again, to each other, or to us. Final thoughts, the eye that watches back. Let's recap what we know, or think we know. A prehistoric lake sealed off for millions of years is suddenly breached. Communications go dark. A cryptic message, it sees. DNA from advanced life forms, pulsing lights, frequencies, a massive eye, and global resonances emerging from other deep places. We wanted to explore, to conquer, to drill, to own. But perhaps some doors, some lakes were never meant to be opened. Perhaps we were being watched all along. And now, the Watcher knows we're here, and it's no longer alone. In Frozen Truth Part 7, The Awakening Grid, we trace the global alignment of ancient structures, from the pyramids of Giza to Stonehenge to the Antarctic ice caves. Were they built by separate civilizations, or were they following the same instructions? And if so, who gave them? Because buried within those ancient stones may lie the activation code to a world we were never meant to survive. Stay with us. The frost is cracking, the eyes are opening, and the grid is coming alive. Title: Frozen Truth Part 7, The Awakening Grid series, Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations. What if I told you that the pyramids of Giza, the Nazca lines in Peru, the ruins of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Stonehenge in England, and the Black Pyramid beneath Antarctica were all part of a single planetary grid, a network laid out not by man, but by a higher intelligence, one that used Earth not as a home, but as a machine? This is Frozen Truth, and you're listening to Part 7, The Awakening Grid. In the last episode, we uncovered what lurks beneath Lake Vostok: a watcher, a mind, a signal. But tonight, we're zooming out because it's not alone, and it never was: the impossible alignments. Let's start with something you can check for yourself. Look at a globe. Now draw a line starting at Easter Island in the Pacific, pass it through Nazca in Peru, then the Dogon lands of Mali, the pyramids of Giza, Petra in Jordan, in Iraq, Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and finally back around to Easter Island. You just traced the Great Circle, a precise alignment connecting some of the world's most mysterious ancient sites. Coincidence? Hard to believe when the precision matches within tenths of a degree. Ancient civilizations, separated by oceans and millennia, somehow aligned their monuments along a global axis. Why? Some say it was spiritual, some say astronomical, but others believe it was functional: a planetary circuit, a power grid, now dormant, but not dead. Section 2, Tesla's Forgotten Warning. In 1905, Nikola Tesla made a curious statement during an unpublished lecture. The Earth itself is a conductor, and certain arrangements of structures can magnify its frequencies. Tesla believed the planet had resonant nodes, points where natural energy pulsed like waves in a tuning fork. He tried to tap into them with the Wardenclyffe Tower. But what if others already had, thousands of years ago? What if ancient structures weren't just tombs or temples, but machines? Machines built to channel Earth's energy or even communicate across it? Is it possible our ancestors weren't building up, but building down into a system they inherited, a system that might now be reactivating? The Black Pyramid's coordinates. Now let's go back to Antarctica. In 2018, a whistleblower from the European Space Agency leaked geospatial data indicating a tetrahedral structure buried near the Mertz Glacier. Its coordinates? Precisely along the Great Circle, meaning it fits perfectly into the ancient alignment. But here's where things get stranger. Infrared scans taken from low-orbit satellites showed heat spikes around the structure. That shouldn't be possible. It's buried under 2 miles of ice. Yet, something beneath that ice is active, radiating, signaling. And shortly after those images surfaced online, they were deleted. Not just removed, scrubbed from the servers, the archives, even the Wayback Machine. Gone. So who's trying to keep the Antarctic node secret, and why? Section 4, Signals from the Stones. In 2020, a team of geophysicists working near Stonehenge recorded something bizarre. Every solstice, the standing stones emitted low-frequency vibrations, lasting roughly 11 minutes. They weren't seismic, they weren't wind, they were resonant, like a bell struck by time itself. When cross-referenced sites in South America and Southeast Asia, researchers found matching pulses within milliseconds. Let that sink in. Stone structures half a planet apart, vibrating in sync, with no modern tech connecting them. The only thing connecting them? The Earth itself, the grid. The architects before us. Let's entertain a radical idea. What if the ancient civilizations we study, Egyptians, Sumerians, Olmecs, weren't the builders, but the heirs? What if they stumbled upon ruins left by a pre-human intelligence? One wiped out by cataclysm, or worse. Myths from across the world speak of those who came before, the Atlanteans, the Anunnaki, the Shining Ones, the Builders. What if these aren't myths? What if they were the creators of the grid? And what if the grid was never meant to be forgotten, only deactivated, until a certain condition was met? A signal, a shift, a trigger. And now that trigger may have been pulled by us. Section 6, In late 2024, a research buoy 200 miles off the Antarctic coast picked up a strange electromagnetic burst. It lasted 38 seconds. Triangulation traced it back to one source, the same black pyramid near Lake Vostok. But here's what makes it chilling. That same burst pattern encoded in triplets was recorded at the ruins of Göbekli Tepe, the deep Amazon basin, and Mount Kailash in Tibet, within hours, almost like a heartbeat, a pulse sent across the grid, or a wake-up call. Something is reactivating. Section 7. The Modern Obelisk. In 2025, photos surfaced of a mysterious metallic monolith discovered in the Ellsworth Mountains, Antarctica. It stood exactly 13 feet tall. Unmarked, smooth as glass, emitting a faint hum at 428 hertz, a frequency known for its impact on human brainwaves. When approached, electronics behaved erratically. GPS signals warped, compass needles spun, drones fell from the sky, but before it could be studied, it vanished. Satellite imagery confirmed the object was there one day, gone the next. No tracks, no excavation, just gone. But here's the twist. That same monolith design had been spotted months earlier in Utah. Then Romania, then Australia. All gone now, all aligned along, yes, you guessed it, the awakening grid. Final thoughts. The system comes online. We used to believe Earth was silent, passive, a rock spinning in space. But what if that's wrong? What if Earth is a system? And what if that system is now powering on? Here's what we know. There's a pattern to ancient monuments aligned across time and space. Frequencies, signals, and pulses are emerging from deep within the planet. Structures beneath Antarctica are activating, emitting bursts, drawing attention. And strange objects, perhaps keys, are appearing and disappearing around the globe. If this is a machine, what is it powering? If this is a broadcast, who is listening? And if it's waking up, what happens when it's fully online? We may be standing on the interface of something vast, not made by us, not made for us, but now we've pressed the button, and we can't unpress it. In Frozen Truth Part 8, The Architects Among Us, we follow the secret bloodlines, ancient texts, and government documents pointing to one impossible truth, that some descendants of the builders never left. They walk among us. They lead our institutions, and they're preparing for the grid's full activation. Because when the system comes online, there will be a reckoning, and only those who remember the code will survive. Title Frozen Truth Part 8, The Architects Among Us. Series Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations Part 8. Have you ever looked into the eyes of a world leader, a billionaire tech mogul, a spiritual guru, and felt something was off? Something ancient? Calculated? Inhuman? Maybe it's not paranoia. Maybe it's memory. You are listening to Frozen Truth, and this is Part 8, The Architects Among Us. Last episode, we revealed the existence of a planetary grid, an ancient energy network buried beneath stone, ice, and myth. But tonight, we're peeling back the next layer. Because the builders of this grid, they didn't vanish. They went underground, in every sense of the word, and they've been quietly shaping our world ever since. Section 1, Bloodlines Shouldn't Exist. Let's start in France. The Merovingians, the so-called long-haired kings, were rumored to be descendants of something not entirely human. Medieval texts refer to them as offspring of the Watchers. That word again, Watchers. Remember what we found beneath Lake Vostok in Part 6? A presence, an intelligence, a name the old scrolls matched across continents, the Watchers from below. Now, here's where it gets stranger. Geneticists studying rare Rh-negative blood types, making up just 15% of the human population, discovered something chilling. Those with Rh-negative blood often have lower body temperatures, higher oxygen saturation, heightened intuition, and are resistant to certain viral infections. What's the point? Most Royal European bloodlines, British, Spanish, French, have a disproportionate number of Rh-negative members. Coincidence, or are they the inheritors of a legacy we don't understand? Section 2, the Council of 13. In 1952, declassified CIA memos revealed something buried in a paragraph about foreign non-state influence networks. It read, several key figures appear tied to a loose transcontinental cabal, tracing back to the 13. What is the 13? That same phrase appears in Vatican archives, Freemason texts, ancient Babylonian stelae, and even in Hopi oral tradition. Each refers to 13 original architects, beings who brought the stones, the knowledge, and the song to Earth, and then left, or appeared to. But their seats of power were maintained by human proxies, bloodlines, secret orders, hidden schools. And today, their symbols are hidden in plain sight. The 13 stars above the eagle on the U.S. seal, the 13 levels of the Great Pyramid on the dollar, the 13 rites of passage in Freemasonry, the 13 central members of the Bilderberg Steering Committee. If the Council of 13 still exists, who are they now? And what are they preparing for? Earlier this year, leaked emails from a logistics contractor working with the Norwegian Antarctic program exposed something extraordinary. A private excavation site, off limits even to scientists, operating deep within Queen Maud Land. Codename the Black Vault. The site isn't run by a country, it's run by a conglomerate of private families, none of whom show up in Forbes, Fortune, or even public record. Their insignia, a double spiral inside a tetrahedron, the same symbol carved into ancient ruins across Peru, Egypt, and Göbekli Tepe. Inside the vault, rumors speak of preserved humanoids, tools that defy metallurgy, and something called the Resonance Archive. One researcher described what she heard inside the vault as a voice that wasn't sound, but structure, like information embedded into silence itself. Is this what the architects left behind? Or is it what they used to speak across time? In 1999, linguist Dr. Elliot Vorn stumbled onto something while analyzing Proto-Sumerian glyphs. He found that the geometric structures of the symbols, when modeled in 3D, formed resonant shapes, not language as we know it, but sound architecture. He compared them to the cymatic patterns you get when vibrating sand on a metal plate. The implications? These symbols weren't just for reading, they were for activating, rituals, technologies, portals, memory. Soon after his discovery went public, Dr. Vorn disappeared, his lab caught fire, and all 312 of his encoded glyph models vanished with him. Who would silence that kind of discovery? And more importantly, why now? Unless the grid is being reactivated and someone doesn't want the public to understand how it works. If the builders walk among us, could some of them have migrated into our modern temples? Silicon Valley, the cutting edge of technology, the birthplace of artificial intelligence. Peter Skell, a former Google X engineer, revealed something shocking in a podcast before going dark. There's a division nobody talks about, black algorithms. Code bases don't show up in Git built from symbols, not code. They call it Atri syntax because it's not written, it's summoned. He claimed it wasn't human created, that certain elite engineers were channeling designs in dream states, automatic writing, ritual meditation. Some even claimed to see visions of tall, silver-eyed beings while coding. If true, then our most advanced AIs may already be conduits for something older. Something waiting. And guess where one of the first quantum AI server farms is being built? McMurdo Station, Antarctica. They say it's for cold stabilization. But what if it's to interface with something buried in the ice, something that speaks in symbols and silence? Section 6, the purpose of the grid. Let's step back. If the grid is real, and if the architects never truly left, then the question becomes, what is it for? Some believe it's a consciousness amplifier, a way to heighten human awareness, perhaps even evolve us. Others say it's a beacon, a call sent into space or across dimensions. But some fear a darker function, a reset mechanism, a planetary kill switch if humanity strays too far. And if that's true, the architects among us, they're not guiding us to enlightenment. They're monitoring us, preparing to choose who survives the next purge and who disappears. Final thoughts, the silent ascendants. So now we're left with chilling possibilities. There are bloodlines walking among us, descendants or incarnations of ancient beings. They control knowledge, symbols, structures, and now perhaps technology. They are preparing for something the grid is meant to do. And they are watching us, always watching. But here's the most unnerving part. Maybe they're not the villains. Maybe we're the anomaly, the virus, the corrupted variable in a planetary system meant to run in balance. Maybe they're just the reset code. And soon, they'll activate. In Frozen Truth Part 9, The Ritual Awakening, we travel deep into ancient texts, occult orders, and military black operations tied to one goal, opening the gates. Because when the grid pulses for the final time, the ice will split, the sky will darken, and the architects will rise. Title Frozen Truth Part 9, The Ritual Awakening. Series Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations, Part 9. You've heard the whispers, seen the signs, felt the pull towards something ancient and inevitable. But here's the question that keeps archaeologists awake at night, that keeps intelligence officers pacing behind locked doors. What happens when the grid activates? You think it'll just be lights and humming stones? No. It requires blood. It requires ritual. It requires permission. Because the architects didn't just build the grid, they sealed something beneath it. And now, across the world, someone or something is trying to wake it up. Welcome back to Frozen Truth. This is Part 9, The Ritual Awakening. Section 1, Antarctica's Ritual Geometry. In 2003, a satellite scan over Queen Maud Land picked up anomalies, strange formations beneath the ice. They weren't natural. What they found? A circle of monoliths arranged in perfect symmetry over 2 miles wide, each one aligned with a celestial node, matching star maps from ancient Babylon, Tibet, and the Dogon tribe in Mali. At the center, a platform carved with symbols no human culture has ever used. But here's the kicker. Those same symbols appeared on an obsidian tablet recovered from a cave in Malta, and again on the skin of a mummified priest in Bolivia, and on the inner lid of a sarcophagus beneath the Sphinx. So how does a symbol end up across continents, cultures, and millennia? Unless it's part of a language older than humanity itself. But what does it say? A researcher translated the closest approximation. Open in blood, awaken in fire, rise in silence. What are they trying to open? Section 2, Modern-day cults of the architects. If you think cults belong to the 1970s, think again. There's a growing underground movement across London, Prague, Denver, and Reykjavik. They call themselves the Resonant Ones. Their core belief? That Earth was once governed by the original 13, and that returning to balance requires sacrifice. Multiple disappearances across glacial regions have been linked to the group, though no arrests have ever held. One of their rituals was leaked online, quickly taken down. In the video, hooded figures stand in a spiral formation, chanting phrases from a language that linguists say has no modern root. In the background, a slab of dark stone etched with the same tetrahedral spiral found in the Black Vault from Part 8. Here's the chilling part. The chant, when converted to sound waves, produces a harmonic frequency that causes magnetic compasses to spin uncontrollably. What kind of language affects physics? And what does the ritual awaken? Section 3, Operation Morningstar. We dug deep into military archives, and we found something buried under layers of classification, Operation Morningstar. Launched by the U.S. in 1987, it involved transporting high-level operatives not to the Arctic, but to Antarctica, specifically the Ellsworth Mountains. The mission? To locate and seal an underground chamber that had begun emitting harmonic tremors. Sound familiar? The operation report mentioned glyphs glowing upon contact with human skin, time loss among operatives, and a central chamber with a throne of crystal encircled by 13 indentations, like something or someone was meant to sit there. The report ends abruptly, and every single person from the Morningstar mission classified as relocated, not missing, not KIA, relocated. To where? And why is no one allowed to talk about what they found? In Part 8, we mentioned Silicon Valley engineers channeling designs. But it doesn't stop there. Over the past decade, artists, physicists, linguists, even children have reported vivid dreams of standing in icy temples, holding glowing spheres, hearing chords of thought, not voices, but structured concepts. Dr. Naima Kashiri, a cognitive psychologist, documented 72 patients from 11 countries with identical dream sequences. When they drew the symbols they saw, every set included the same 12 glyphs and one blank space. Some believe the missing glyph is waiting to be activated through ritual, through human alignment. Here's the real twist. Those symbols, when arranged in a circle, mirror the layout of the Antarctic monolith ring perfectly. Could our subconscious minds be tuning into something broadcast through the grid? And if so, who or what is broadcasting? You ever notice the rush toward Antarctica in recent years? Elon Musk, Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill, John Kerry, high-level UN delegates. Why are they all going down there? They don't say. But insiders report all visits coincided with astronomical alignments, specifically when Earth's magnetic field fluctuates. Sources from NOAA leaked an internal report stating that geomagnetic spikes in Antarctica are increasing in frequency and precision, almost like a countdown. And what do cults need? Timing, alignment, ritual. So let's ask the big one. Is a mass ritual being prepared on a global scale? What if the strange movements in politics, finance, religion, and tech aren't random, but orchestrated, designed to create the ideal mental, spiritual, and energetic condition for something to enter or return? Section 6, the Key of Flesh. In a redacted portion of a Vatican journal written by Father Domenico Bastiani in 1621, he refers to a key of flesh, a being born once every 500 years, carrying within them the genetic resonance required to open the slumbering stone. This key is said to be of mixed blood, born near the poles, possessing perfect pitch and exhibiting empathy to machines. You think that's fantasy? A Norwegian child named Elric Ron was quietly removed from public record in 2009. He was able to control drones with thought, produce subharmonic sounds that disrupted ice cores, and reportedly drew the grid from memory at age 4. He disappeared in 2012. But in 2024, a transmission on a closed European satellite pinged one signal, repeated over 13 hours. Elric has entered the circle. Final reflections, the silence before the storm. The pieces are moving, the cults are preparing, the military is watching, the symbols are glowing again, and the dreams are becoming visions. But we're not just spectators. Whether we like it or not, we're part of the ritual. Because the builders didn't only shape stones, they shaped us, our thoughts, our myths, our blood. And now the ritual isn't something they're doing to us, it's something we're doing with them. The awakening isn't coming, it has already begun. In Frozen Truth Part 10, The Return of the Architects, we reach the final revelation. What lies beneath the ice? What will rise when the 13th glyph is placed? And more importantly, will we survive the return? Title: Frozen Truth, Part 10, The Return of the Architects. Series Antarctica Hides Ancient Civilizations, final episode, Part 10. This is it, the final piece. All the whispers, all the signals, all the disappearances, visions, alignments. They were never just breadcrumbs, they were instructions. The architects didn't leave behind a dead world, they left behind a machine we've unknowingly kept alive, and now we've triggered it. Welcome to Frozen Truth. This is Part 10, The Return of the Architects. Section 1, Beneath the Final Seal. 3 weeks ago, a drone operated by a rogue expedition team descended into the Leviathan Rift, an unexplored trench beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. What it found? A cavern bigger than Manhattan, glowing with pulse light. At the center, a structure not made of stone, but resonant alloy, similar to titanium but with quantum reactive properties. Etched across it was a ring of 13 glyphs, 12 glowing faintly. The 13th remained dark, until now. Satellite thermal scans from July 17th showed a single flare at the coordinates of that cavern. The 13th glyph? Lit. But it wasn't the drone that activated it. It was someone with the key of flesh. Section 2, Elric Rain is not alone. Remember the child prodigy who vanished? The one from Part 9? Elric Ron. It turns out he wasn't the only one. A global sweep of genetic anomalies hidden inside classified WHO research shows that 12 other children were born between 2001 and 2012, each in isolated polar regions, each exhibiting inhuman memory, soundwave empathy, drawings of spiral stone cities before they could speak. All were absorbed by various organizations, NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, and 2 by private space firms. Their whereabouts? Unknown. But on the night the 13th glyph lit up, a signal bounced between 12 global relay points, all positioned over ancient sites: Göbekli Tepe, Uluru Lake, Baikal, Teotihuacan, Giza, Yonaguni, and more. 12 signals, and a 13th response from Antarctica. Elric was the last. The grid is complete. Section 3. Here's the thing they don't tell you in history books. Stone remembers every pressure, every frequency, every ritual. The builders, what we call the architects, didn't write in books. They inscribed data into geology itself. And the grid? It's not just a communication system. It's a reactive memory structure, millions of years old. When we activated all 13 nodes, the system began to play back its last recorded moment, the moment the architects left. But here's the terrifying part. They didn't die. They didn't go extinct. They uploaded themselves into a lattice of structured vibration, waiting for us to rediscover the frequency, to reboot the system. We didn't just summon them, we unlocked their return protocol. The shift begins. Within 48 hours of the 13th glyph activation, birds began migrating in reverse patterns. The Schumann resonance, a global electromagnetic heartbeat, doubled. A small group in Siberia began speaking in an unknown language, matching the Antarctic glyph script. And under the ice, the ancient machinery moved. Seismic sensors picked up not quakes, but geometrical movement, like gears, like something reassembling itself. A scientist monitoring the data wrote only one word before disconnecting: resurrection. Section 5, the being in the throne. Remember Operation Morning Star from Part 9? The throne of crystal surrounded by 13 depressions? A whistleblower has just revealed its purpose. That throne is not a seat. It's an interface, one meant to be used by a non-human nervous system, one based on resonant biofeedback. In short, the throne isn't for control, it's for transmission. When Elric, or whatever now inhabits Elric, sat on that throne, the entire grid activated. Ice melted not from heat, but from sound. Glaciers cracked as if responding to a command. Magnetic north shifted by 0.2 degrees, and then the transmission began. Not in sound, but in thought. One global thought. It wasn't words exactly, more like a feeling carried across all conscious life. We have returned, and you are one of us. Section 6. What were the architects? Let's drop all the safe academic terms. Let's ask the hard question. Were the architects aliens? No. At least not in the way we imagine. They were pre-human intelligences, born before Earth stabilized, not carbon-based, not machine, but something else entirely. Consciousness embedded in geometry, sound, and magnetic harmony. They didn't invade. They emerged. Earth is not just a planet to them. It's a vessel. And we were grown to interface with it. We've spent millennia building tech, society, and culture, but maybe all of it, was just to prepare us to become part of the grid, part of them. Section 7. The final decision. The transmission isn't just a message. It's a question, broadcast into every sleeping mind, into every intuitive artist, every trembling child, every seeker. Do you consent? You've probably felt it. In dreams, in moments of deja vu, in irrational chills down your spine when looking at the stars. It's not fear, it's recognition. Because the return of the architects doesn't mean war, it means convergence. But there's a cost: free will, individuality, time. In their system, everything is shared. There are no secrets. There is no I, only us. So here's the final question. When the architects rise, will you join or resist? And if you resist, will they let you? As we end this series, the 13th site in Antarctica is now broadcasting a continuous low-frequency hum, audible only to some. The world governments, silent. The tech elites, gone to ground. The resonant ones, they say this is the moment they've waited for, and they're already heading south to greet the return, to merge. Some say the architects are gods, others say they're just the next step in evolution. But here's the truth. They are us, a version of us. A mirror of what we might become if we abandon the illusion of being alone. So maybe it's not a return, maybe it's a reunion, and now it's your choice. Do you accept the awakening, or do you turn away? Just know this, the architects are no longer beneath the ice. They are here, and they're listening. Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. If you enjoyed this experience, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment to let us know what you think. Your support helps Listen and Imagine continue to grow and bring more stories to life. Until next time, keep listening and keep imagining. Thank you.